Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
So here we have our good friend Mark Morowitz, the CPA who knows everything that is happening to our seniors as well as people who are younger. But the fact that he does specialize in the senior population is very important to us at Boomer Times. So the last article, and I don't think we talked about it yet, the balance,
no,
did we? And I think that's a very, very good.
Let's go.
Yeah, that's a very good topic. And of course, it was perfect for you because balance in life and balance is what you do, right? I mean, do you feel like you're in balance?
I feel I'm trying to find a balance. I'm not sure that I know anybody who's perfectly in balance. We have to continue to search for it because when we think we're in balance, something goes out of balance, and we have to search for something else.
I just had before, one of my other interviews was a person who specializes in yoga, and balance is very important in their world.
Yoga, I used to do.
Did you?
I did. But I did extreme yoga, and it was the hardest workout I ever had. And I was so focused on trying to do positions correctly that I never got to the point where I was able to relax the way what yoga's supposed to do.
Is that right?
I wasn't a big fan of it. It was very, very difficult for me.
Mm-hmm. Because you couldn't keep your mind on.
Yeah, the balance was difficult for me. The balance moves and
that's right. That's what made me think about
positional moves because if you look at most really good yoga people, all right, people who do yoga, they have a different body chemistry than me. They're lean and maybe that's because they do yoga, but I know yoga is really good for athletes. It's great for stretching. And I will say this, that when I was doing yoga, my body felt a lot better than it does when I'm not doing yoga. So maybe I should go back to it, not do it as extreme as I did.
Well, do you do other exercise?
I'm getting back to it now. I used to, but I've been out of commission for the past 6 months. So
yeah, and how I know you.
I'm all good now.
You are. I'm so happy. Well, you worked hard on that. I'm glad that you are. So, Mark, what is the difficulty with the older adults and their financial problems? Let's just hit that right now. What do you see as the major problem, and what can you do, and just verbally, to help them?
The thing that strikes me the most is people are afraid to outlive their money. If they have the money to outlive, because they try to find, we talk about balance, they try to find that balance between, do I save it, do I spend it, do I give it to my kids, do I give it to my grandchildren, how long am I going to live, and it's really, it could be debilitating thinking about stuff like that, and especially when you're dealing with low interest rates, people's returns on their investments aren't what they used to be, so what do I do for that? I try to find ways to help them budget to make sure that their money does last. I do find ways of lightening the situation, telling them that it's okay sometimes to spend your money, spend your principal. Okay.
Okay. Well, that's true, and I always say, and I know exactly what you're saying because I hear people denying themselves things.
That's right.
And they have enough money, and I'm saying, why are they doing that?
Fear. I think we should tell everybody that we have like a special guest in the studio today. Jack. He's warming up his vocal cords. Right, Jack?
Well, I'm sure. It's funny. When older adults have congestive heart failure, it's really what it sounds like.
Yeah, I know. My mother went through that.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a pretty sight.
Right. Well, but you have to love the people. You have to do what you can. Look, I mean, you were just recently having problems. It wasn't purple, but it was certainly other things. So not everybody has, as you started out with the show, everyone has their problems,
Absolutely.
But let's go back to what you said. So when do you tell them that it is okay? I mean, most of these people are not going to spend all their money.
No.
It's just little pieces of it, right?
So, as an example, I had a client who was, at the time, she was 87 years old, and she had $1 million of liquid assets and $1 million beach home, okay? And she was concerned because her income went down from when interest rates were high. Her income went down from, say, $90,000 to $60,000. And that's a big chunk a year. That's a big chunk of money to lose, especially when you live in a high-tax state like New Jersey, where property taxes can eat up half of that, okay, on her 2 properties. And so, I said to her one day, and she said, what do I do? What am I supposed to do? And I looked at the budget, and I said, well, what are you spending your money on? And she said, well, I go to Florida for a couple of weeks a year, maybe for a month in January, February, and then, I fly my grandchildren down first class. And I said, well, maybe you should fly your grandchildren down coach instead of first class.
Okay.
Save a few bucks that way. And I said to her, I said, you're 87 years old, okay? I don't know how long are you going to live. She says, no, of course, I don't know either. I said, so what would be so terrible? You're $30,000 a year short. I think it was $25,000 a year short. I said, if you take $25,000 a year out of your income from your principal and spend that, that'll take you to 127. And she laughed and she says, well, I'm not going to live that long. I said,
lovely.
Exactly.
That's lovely.
Exactly. So she felt a little bit better at that point, she made it another couple of years, and that was it, because we have to be realistic too, okay? And what happens when people get older, they start to give up because their life isn't what they want it to be anymore. They start to give up, and there are telltale signs to that. I'm not a psychiatrist and I'm not a social worker, but I've known enough people, I've had enough clients, and I see the signs when they start to give up. And,
well, she could have gone on a cruise and enjoyed herself.
Sure she could, but you know what? At that point in time, that's not what was interesting to her. Mm-hmm. She wanted her family closer to her.
Yeah,
the problem with that is at that point already it's too late. The family,
sure,
exactly. Right. I wasn't in the budget.
Right, I wasn't in the budget.
Wasn't in the budget.
But that was she had a lot of assets. I mean, so don't the assets count in some of the things you're thinking?
Sure, but they weren't producing income. They weren't producing income. But she didn't want to sell her beach house. She wanted to leave that to her son.
Ah.
So, you have, it's really, talk about balance, okay?
Yeah.
So the equation is, the accounting equation is assets that you just mentioned minus liabilities equals net worth. But they could be income-producing assets or non-income producing assets. You still have to live on your income.
Yeah.
All right? And when your expenses are greater than your income, that's when you have a problem.
Well, okay. So you're the bearer of bad news.
And good news.
Okay, and good news. All right. Well, so there are people, though, who don't even have as much as she does.
That's correct. They don't live as well as she did either.
Okay, so that's the difference, too. So what you were telling her, and I'm interesting that they fly first class, don't fly first class. So you try to look at all the things that someone does, and then you figure out how you can cut those expenses.
Right.
So that she'll have more. But then it takes away from some of her pleasure, doesn't it?
Sure. Think of me as the doctor of money, okay? That's what I try to tell people.
Doctor
when
of
you
money.
go to the doctor, you have a pain in your chest, you have a pain in your arm, whatever. You go to the doctor, and the doctor says, you have to tell me everything that hurts. Otherwise, I can't really get to the bottom of what the problem is, and I can't help you. So when people come to me, I tell them the same thing. You have to tell me everything. Otherwise, I can't give you the correct answer to the problem. I can't find a good solution for you. Okay?
So should we refer to you as the Doctor of Money?
Yes,
absolutely. Is that your new title?
Doctor of Money. That's right.
Maybe
DM,
we just
Doctor of Money.
Oh, DM, right? Maybe we just found a new title for you.
I want it to be Dr. Love, but that's not working. Doctor of Money is fine.
Well, you know what? Okay. Maybe we need to add that in your article that you write, Doctor of Money, because
there you go.
You really feel good about that, don't you?
I do. When people have problems, they typically can't see the forest through the trees. They're so their time is so taken up by the problems okay, they can't see the solutions. So that's why they need me.
Right.
And that and you know, going to a CPA is not just about getting your taxes done. It's about, you know, finding solutions to financial issues.
Do all CPAs feel that way?
I don't think so. I think I didn't until I probably had 10, 15 years experience. I was so focused on learning my craft and getting to be an expert at what I do that I realized that, you know, I would probably be better serving my clients by giving them advice that they don't know they need yet. Okay?
Yes.
And that's what I started to focus on.
And I'm sure a lot of people are very happy that you do that. Have you kept your clients for a long time? We talked about that once.
My clients have been with me for a long time.
Because you have actually it's not so much a financial relationship, it's a familial relationship,
it becomes one. You have to balance that as well, because what happens when people become too close is your value as a CPA tends to go down, and value as a friend tends to go up. So people don't want to pay me to be their friend,
right? You
know, so I have to remind them.
So though the families. Let's say that you're talking to someone, just like this woman you were talking about.
Right.
I evidently she's deceased now.
Yes.
Okay, but let's say that you talk to someone like that, or you see some things happening. Do you feel that you have that privilege to talk to their family?
Most of the time, you know, I know the family relationships and I know the dynamics. And if there are a couple of kids, there's always butting of heads. And I have to be very careful, you know, what I say or who I say it to.
Yeah.
If they ask me is one thing, but I can't, you know, I'm walking a very tight line between, you know, saying something and not.
Yeah, I can understand that,
Yeah.
but I know that. But you have a wonderful personality. You're very kind, and you're smart.
Right.
And I'm sure there are times when you do bite your tongue, and yet you know that it's probably not in the best sense of doing
right.
this.
Most of the time, it comes out eventually. People will ask me, you know, like, what should I do? And, you know, or I'm having an issue with my brother or my sister, and, you know, what's the best thing we can do?
Right.
You know, and I may give them advice, and, you know, then I'll catch hell from the other party or something like that. But,
do you have a relationship with their lawyers, the ones with the will, the estate lawyers?
Most of the time.
And so you can talk back and forth about that also, because that's really important.
Yeah, it is very important to make sure you have your will. You know.
Well, also because of the assets that are in the will, then I guess it has to change. If you know something's happened, do you talk to the lawyer and say that, like in the trusts, that it's not, you know, it's not the same amount of money?
I need to get permission, typically, you know. Once in a while, off the cuff, I might say something, but I haven't had too many situations like that. Most of the problems arise after somebody dies, you know. Even though we know that they're going to happen, nobody wants to do anything about it. I've had people that have changed their wills every other day. And it gets very expensive to do that. The lawyers love that.
You should have known my father. He was a lawyer, but if I didn't call him every day, he took me out of the will.
Yeah.
You know, it's that kind of stuff, and
Right.
It really didn't. It's just that's what they say. You know, it's because they're using their money
Sure.
because it's the only thing they think they have when they
Right.
don't really understand that's what it is, right?
That gift is way too expensive for some people to deal with. You know, so what somebody should do is say, you know, call back in 2 days and say, okay, now double my share now that
That's
I called
very
you back,
funny.
you know. It's
Well, so let's go to some practical things. So you have an older adult, and do they usually take care of their own expenses and they pay their checks? And let's say they haven't done that with you, and you help them figure out what to do. And
right. I will visit somebody's house. I'm like the financial homemade, okay? I will come in and I will sit with somebody for a social visit, pay their bills, make sure. Nowadays, you got to be really careful when you get a phone call. If you still have a landline at home, you got to be really careful about pushing a button on your phone, because you may be changing your phone carrier they slip these things in on you that, when somebody has a touch of dementia, they don't quite realize what's going on. And the next thing I know, I get to their house to pay their bills, and there's a bill from a new phone company, and I say, well, what's this? And then you find out that, well, they locked in for 2 years with this new company. It's just, see, I've gotten rid of my landline, so I'm not even aware of those scams that are going on anymore. But
well, I had something on my landline, and it was Florida Power and Light. No, I didn't have it. I'm sorry. When I was away on a trip, someone called our office and said that Mrs. Finley has, I think they used my name, they told the receptionist that if she doesn't pay her electric bill today, we're going to cancel it. Now, I know that it's paid automatically. And when they told me that, I said, well, are they crazy? And then, of course, I saw my bill. Now, that will scare somebody.
Yeah,
That's really bad.
Absolutely.
And I sent it to part of Florida Power and Light to let them know there is a scam going on.
Right. There's I get them every day. And honestly, even for me, who I know, not to answer anything, they sound so realistic. If you get it via email, it looks so realistic.
I know. And
you get phone calls, they sound so realistic. I got one the other day from, I forgot who it was, but they said to me, if you want to call back, call this number. If you'd like to speak to somebody now, press 1. So I pressed 1, and a guy got on the phone with an Indian accent, and I said, what is it that what's going on? That he goes, well, so blah 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 blah, and I said, you know what? I think this is a scam, and he said, well, if it's a scam, if you think it's a scam, then you can hang up. So I hung up. Yeah. And it was a scam.
Of course. So
you got to be really careful today because they sound so legit. Yeah. And what you find is that these companies, the electric company, gas company, if you're in Jersey or wherever, they don't call you. Yeah. Okay? The credit card company only calls you if there's a fraud, and they ask you. If they ask you for your Social Security number, it's a fraud. It's not real.
Right.
Okay. They may ask you for the last 4 digits of your Social Security number. Okay. But they will tell you that there's been a charge on your account, and they want to know if it's legit. That's a legit call. Okay. But somebody that asks you up front for your Social Security number, it's just hang up. And that's what I find a lot of going on today.
Well, I want everyone to know I am talking to the Doctor of Money.
Thank you.
Right? Is that what we're going to say? Doctor of Money. And, of course, this is Mark Morowitz, CPA. He writes wonderful articles for us every month, and he does a great job with especially the seniors, because you can see there's a kind lilt to your talk. It isn't just, I've had CPAs here before.
Very dry.
And it's different.
Very
it's very different. And people do, especially the older adults, they want to know who you are. They want to know.
I'm like the son that you wished you had, or that you never had, or you'd like to have now. That's who I am.
So you tell people, I have to, as we've just finished here, don't do anything that's different on your accounts, on anything. If you're worried, give me a call.
That's exactly what I tell them to do.
And do you get calls?
They finally remember to call. It takes time because a lot of these things are shocking when people get these phone calls about their Social Security number, their grandchildren. Forget it. When somebody gets a phone call about a grandson who's in jail, everything, the whole world stops. That's it. They're willing to do whatever they have to do for that grandson. And they are starting. They call me now. I do get these phone calls, and I say thank you for calling.
I have an account, different banks. I have one at Bank of America, and they called and said, you're this, you're that. I said, can I have your phone number? I'm going to call you back. And they gave it to me, and I called back, and it was real.
Yeah, that's fine.
But usually they don't call.
No,
that was unusual.
That's right.
Now, the other thing is American Express. They now have on email, looks just like American Express. They've got everything down, but they don't put your number. They don't even put your last 4 numbers. So I do nothing with I do nothing with these things.
So here's a little key. If you look at your email, okay, the address that it comes from will say American Express or something like Amex. if you hold your mouse over that address, it'll come up like amex.anita.gip dot nothing amex.com.
I see.
If it doesn't say .com, it's probably not real. Okay?
Right. Well, I don't do anything that's. I
Don't
just
click on
know.
anything.
No, I just know that that's not a good thing to do, and I usually forward it to the company for them to know, but whether they know that or not. But
I get these things all the time from Amazon. Amazon,
You get this from
Walmart.
Amazon?
I get these. It's not really Amazon.
No, I know that, but
And they say, there's a problem with your account. And I say, I don't even have an account. So I know that they're not real. So that's the first thing. Think about, if you just take a deep breath and think about, wait, I don't even have an account there. Just get rid of it. Delete.
because if you don't handle it and it's real, they'll come back to you.
Right.
And usually these people don't come back.
Right.
I mean, sometimes there has been a problem. There has been something that didn't get, like I didn't pay a bill. I didn't remember I didn't pay it. And they were asking me about it. And I thought I paid that. But then they came back. And
It'll
I
be
said,
on the next bill.
exactly. That's
Balance
what happened.
due. The
Of course,
balance
that's what
forward.
happened. But I did go and look. But you're right. This is what we're dealing with today.
Yeah.
And so you...
Very scary.
But you've changed then. If you remember, you've been a CPA for how long?
I've been a CPA for 40. What year is this? 1990. Listen to me. 2019. I will have been certified for 40 years, but I've been practicing for 44.
Wow. So when you first started doing this wasn't anything that was
Didn't
going
have
on,
any
right?
of this stuff.
No.
We had snail mail.
Yeah, and even snail mail now is really snail mail.
Yeah.
I have I had to pay something, and it was from here up to New Jersey, and after 10 days they never got it. 12 days I just canceled it and wrote another one.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a Pony Express.
yeah, but I will say I like the mail. I'm sorry, I really do like the post office.
We from our generation, we like a trail.
Right.
We like to know that we sent something. The younger people of today, they don't do that. They don't have checkbooks. They don't watch their bank accounts. They trust everybody. Very difficult. Very difficult.
Yeah.
That's the next group that I'm going to be working with. Is
Who? What?
the younger people of my kids' age.
Yeah.
They don't understand banking. They don't understand how any of this stuff works. And frankly, when they get to be a certain age, they start to complain and say, "I wish I learned this stuff in school."
Yeah, right. Well, let me just do this. Let me tell you again that you're listening to Mark Morowitz, and you can reach him on his website, which is morowitzcpa.com, morowitzcpa.com, or call him directly at 609-338-3603, and he's going to answer you. He's not someone you're going to call and there'll be nobody returns your call. He will do that. He's very, very conscientious.
And if I can say,
yes.
Please do go check out that website. I wore a suit, so just so everybody knows, I can dress nice sometimes.
Morowitz. Oh yeah, he comes in here. Well, we put him on Facebook Live, as you can see, and we interrupt his playful day. No, but he's here and he's in New Jersey and he's very serious about what he does. But he's a lot of fun too. You'll love him. You will really enjoy him. And if you have a pet, he'll love your pet. Trust me. So Mark Morowitz, Morowitz. And I think we have a little time left. I just want to ask you something. Do you have brothers and sisters?
I do. I have one of each.
Oh, you do? And where
do.
do they live?
One lives in Philadelphia, and the other lives in Toms River, New Jersey.
Oh, really?
Yes.
And so do they all have families?
They do.
And so you really do have a lot of family relationships.
Well, I have family members.
Yeah, members, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Everybody's scattered.
I see. And that's what your clients...
I will say this. My nieces and nephews know who I am. Okay, when everybody gets together, they know I'm Uncle Mark, and
Uncle
my
Mark.
kids know I'm Dad.
Okay.
Banker Dad.
So you
and,
do. Banker Dad.
Right,
So
banker
you're
dad.
doing okay.
I do.
Not everybody has that.
That's correct. That's
so
right.
you're doing okay.
I'm blessed.
Well, you've done a nice job, and I want people to know that if you do need someone to come to your house to And that's what he'll do. He'll come to your house and he'll sit down with you, help you figure out your finances and what's good for you and what you should maybe be aware of. He'll tell you, and he can help you with your bookkeeping. He can guide you, and he's very trustworthy. I mean, you can. I'm going to say that. Anita Finley is going to say that, so you can hit me on the head if there's.
Doctor of Money.
That's right. That's his new title, Doctor of Money. I love that. That's what we're going to do. I've never heard of that before. A DM.
I have to copyright it.
Hey, you should. So is it a DM?
DM.
What? No, DM is something else. I think that might be a
debit memo.
Huh?
It's a debit memo.
Oh, yeah, that's right. DM. Yeah, it is true. Okay, well, we got that together. Well, so you're going to have a very interesting, happy last week of the year? I'm
going to try. I'm actually going to see Madonna Sunday night in Miami.
Are you
yes,
really?
Yes, I am. I'm going all out.
Yeah, you are.
Going
well,
all out.
she's quite a woman.
You know, I read in the paper the other day she had she's playing at the Fillmore in Miami Beach, and what she did for her show, I guess she's doing it for all the shows. She's doing like 2 weeks worth of shows. She's doing small venue shows for the next couple of this tour. Okay, it's called the Madam X tour, and she turned the air conditioning off. The show started at 11 o'clock at night. She turned the air conditioning off. Everybody was sweating because she had her knee hurt, and the cold air was going to make it bad.
That's really.
I'm looking forward to this. You know.
Oh yeah, that's right. Well, I know a lot about her because I lived in Miami and. I remember when she had to make herself famous, and she didn't quite expose herself, but she did lots of things.
She exposed herself in Playboy.
I have a book with a lot of things that were in, but she's quite a talent.
She's a great talent.
She's great talent. Mark, thank you. I do wish you a very happy holiday and look forward to being
happy holiday,
safe,
everybody.
Safe.
Thank you.
Doctor of Money. Bye.
Thank you.